Hello, Blitz fans of all ages, it's me, Plumcastle, finally discussing Update 9.1. Now, this update has understandably upset a lot of players in the community, and I can see why. For the most part, it's just a huge change to Tier 10, but in this video, I will be going over some of the general things that are going to be happening, and as well some of the good things and bad things, because there are both of them. So firstly, there have been some changes that in my mind make sense. For example, the T100 LT, super overpowered Tier 10, it is getting a nerf. The hit points are being decreased by 50 HP. Reload time will be increased by 0.7 seconds, 0.77 seconds, so almost a second. So it seems a little bit high in that regard. Its armor thickness in its upper glacis will also be decreased by 14 millimeters. Now, playing this in the test server, I actually played it on the test server before I even got my LT on my main account, and overall, I would say that it didn't feel bad. It just, it definitely does feel different though. So another change that I thought made a little bit of sense was the E100's changes. Now, the E100 is known for being a good starter Tier 10 for those who are new to the tier. And with these changes, I think it'll be even more so. So they're they're increasing the reload time by about a second, which is going to lower the DPM by about 150. But on the flip side of that, we're going to get an extra whole traverse speed by about like 5.21 degrees, and as well, we're actually going to get 20 millimeters of thicker armor on the face. So overall, it's going to be a little bit more robust, so I think in that case, the trade-off with the damage per minute is going to make a little bit of sense, and again, I think it will make it a little bit better for newer players. Now, some other changes that seem almost a little bit too much in some cases would be things like the AMX-50B receiving that fourth shell. While that sounds great, it's actually not, because now you're going to have to be sticking out in the open for longer, and on top of that, your DPM is actually worse, so overall, it's just a meh, not real great change. The fourth shell on the 4005, I think actually makes a little bit more sense. You are a tank destroyer, so hopefully you aren't spotted out in the open. So in that case, I think it would actually be better to have kind of like an option, like you can choose between the 3 or the 4 shell. But that balance is okay. Also, the Gorilla 15 is actually being affected quite heavily. Its maximum speed will be decreased by 3. Its whole traverse will be increased by 4.17 degrees, which I guess is okay. But unfortunately, the penetration will be increased by 21 millimeter, which is good. But unfortunately, they're actually lowering the literal damage per shot. So damage will be decreased for the standard shell by 40 hit points, and then this HE will be decreased by 60. That is a huge nerf. In my opinion, the alpha on a tank should probably stay the same. If you want a higher or lower DPM, change the reload time. So I would say here, leave the Gorilla's alpha the same, just increase the reload time. Now, there are some other buffs, oddly enough, that I would actually strongly disagree with. So the M6EO, for some reason, despite the fact that it is already a very strong and capable tank, is receiving a buff. I'm not exactly sure why, but it is. Same with the T57 Heavy. Both of those tanks were already super good, so why they're getting a buff, I'm not really sure. And the one that really doesn't make sense to me is the Concept 1B. Seriously, everyone that you look up in this look up on YouTube and you see people playing this tank, they'll say it's OP. It's just really OP. Doodles has roughly an 89% win rate in over 100 battles. That is insane. And that's how it is already. And then it's going to be buffed. So dispersion on traverse will actually be decreased. So, I mean, it's a very tiny decrease of 0.02, but it's a decrease nonetheless, and that's going to make it a little bit more accurate. Thickness of the hull's upper glacis will be decreased by 15 millimeters, which it is being decreased, but I mean, just everything else is being pretty much buffed. Dispersion at 100 meters will be decreased, so it'll be more accurate there. Reload time will be decreased by roughly 0.3 of a second, which is ridiculous. Like, why are we making this faster? Turret traverse speed will be decreased. So yeah, it seems like there's balance changes on both ways, but I mean, overall, it's getting a buff, in my opinion. It's just flat out getting a buff. Now, the tanks like the IS-7 or the 60 TP, those things, for the most part, just got a mobility nerf. So overall, I found that they played mostly the same, maybe a little bit slower, but overall, I would say the 60 TP now kind of feels like a low to the ground E100, and the IS-7 still feels pretty much the same. And so those are the main changes, some good, some bad. I can see why a lot of players in the community, especially ones who have been around for a lot longer, are a little bit upset. And I kind of agree with that because honestly, with all these changes, it's going to make it easier for someone learning tier 10 to get into tier 10 because everyone else is trying to learn it at the same time you are, so that is the perfect time to jump in. But when you've been playing tier 10 for the 8 years that the game has been out, it seems a little bit unfair to the older players or those who have been around in tier 10 for a long time, because now you're essentially just messing everything up. And I really feel bad for Happy because literally the AMX 50B and the Gorilla 15 were some of his favorite tanks, and those are the two tanks seeing some of the biggest nerfs. So yeah, overall, I mean, there are some good things and some bad things, but in general, I would say this update is okay. I mean, it's not amazing, it's not terrible, it's just different. And so with that, hope y'all enjoyed, and as always, have fun, good luck, and happy tanking.